Beautiful. Okay, I can't move them now. Still can't move them. These ones have popped out though. Ah! Ah! So I've been working on an economy video for Stormgate, trying to find good, solid macro advice for all three of the factions. And the Celestials, well, they're weird. You see, their prisms, when they're farming Therium, pick up and unload 50 Therium at a time, which is significantly more than the 5 or 10 that are picked up by every other faction. But that got me thinking. There's no limit on the number of prisms that can work one single node, not like there is with Luminite. So what happens when we go full Henry Hoover? What is the absolute fastest Celestial can get Therium? So, of course, I had to test that idea. But let's start with this. Let's figure out how fast we can get it. So first of all, let's give you a little context. So Therium nodes, they look like this, and they'll spit out Therium every couple of seconds. They expand until they reach a certain volume, and upon reaching their max volume, they can then continue to expand, sort of. So they start enriching each individual node. These nodes start to glow and float, and they can then be mined twice as fast than normal nodes. They still give the same quantity of Therium, but they can just be mined faster. So in order to do this, we're going to want every single node to be fully enriched. Simple enough. Okay, so the next step to getting max Therium is simple. Which map has the most Therium nodes? My initial thought was Isle of Dread, as it's the biggest map, has a lot of those double nodes across the map, and it is close, it has 14 nodes. But there's one map that has way more, and that's Lost Hope. You see, Lost Hope has this fucking mess at the centre. 12 Therium nodes, all clustered together, all at the centre of the map. Why? Who knows? They're fucking around with game design and map design at the moment, but it is perfect for what we are trying to do here. Okay, well let's test my first theory then. What happens when we just spam, let's say 25 prisms on a single Therium node?
Okay, editor Ollie here. 25 was kind of boring, so here's 700.
So you can see we hoover it up in no time. It took around 20 seconds for the nodes to become completely depleted. But we have some inefficiencies. You see, each prism will only return when it gets fully full with 50 Therium. At the moment, many of the nodes are simply not getting enough Therium, so are never handing any of it in. Therefore, ideally, we need to find the exact number of prisms, which will mine it as quickly as possible, and get each of them full that they all hand them in. I did some testing on this, and I'll skip over to just let you know. The number I found was somewhere between 6 and 8. So, I won't keep you waiting any longer, because that's everything we really need. Here's every single node being mined at the exact same time across the entire map of Lost Hope. Enjoy. Funnily enough, while I was testing this though, I came across some other fun things. You see, I found out that prisms cost supply, which we all know. They cost 2 supply each, to be exact. And with each node needing 6 times 2 supply for 20 nodes, well that's 240 supplies. I was worried that I was going to run out of space for building more prisms. However, I found out that when you just warp in a Therium depository, you always get a free prism. And that can be done to exceed the cap of the 300 supply limit. Well, of course, I then had to test how far we could go. Could we do what they did in StarCraft, where we build so many overlords that my opponent can't possibly micro because their base is covered with prisms? Hold please. So here we are at 300 supply. And here we are at 600 supply. You can see that the frame rate is already starting to chunk a little bit. And this is also the time I discovered the first sort of oddity in the behaviour when the game gets this high. You see, okay, so I send all of them to mine this one node here, and they all start to cluster. And that's kind of fine and cool and pretty normal. But when you hit the stop command, well, the game tries to figure out where to put all of the units, and they sort of form this, like, prism black hole. You'll see units are slowly being spat out, like, one at a time, but all these ones at the center are just gyrating a lot. And I can't move these right now. I can't move them at all. They're stuck in place. Well, now, of course, we have to get curious and test what this black hole can do, and what other things can happen. So, here's one of the 1,000 supply. You might notice some continued oddity in the behaviour here, right? Some of the workers are still mining, despite being told not to. Weird what happens when you have 500 prisms all gathered on one spot, innit? You can also see here that I'm giving the order for them to move to the other side of the map, and they're all just sort of ignoring me, which is really funny. And here's what the game and the frame rate looks like when we're at 1,500 supply. It's going well. Hey, look, this is way more than the game was ever designed to handle, but it's a beautiful sight to behold. And of course, I had to test the black hole here too. And in this one, well, I don't know, this one's kind of just beautiful, right? I hit the stop command and they sort of form these two uniform blobs, one of about 500 supply and one of about 200 supply. And yet when I issued the command to make them stop, well, they sort of merged. And I can't issue commands to any of them during this time. My guess or understanding from this, from a sort of game developer sort of perspective, is that when I'm issuing the sort of stop command here, all of the prisms are trying to find their own space to actively move to, but they're given a sort of range that they're able to hop to make space. And since there's so many of them, they're not able to make that space. They're constantly jostling and gyrating, hoping to sort of reset their position. And prisms have this thing where if they move, their move speed is increased. So my assumption is their move speed is just increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing. And when they are finally free, well, they go flying.
Hey, Editor Ollie again. So, as I was reviewing this and editing this video, in fact, I was literally on my last post as I was going through this, I noticed that when this effect happens, look at the in-game timer. The timer increases speed. I think this is a rollback effect. I think the prisms are literally causing the game and the client and the server to go out of sync. And this massive rollback spike happens where the game doesn't really know what to do, so it speeds up the client's game to match what's supposed to be happening? Ooh.
And well, that's where I stopped. That took me nearly 2.5 hours to do, and there's only so much interest I can get in trying to crash my game on my own. The game's surprisingly survived, though, at 1,500 supply with that many units on screen, all of them clustered in one place, and really, I'm most surprised that it didn't crash in any way, shape or form, because I really was trying to take the game to the most extreme limits of what is possible. My real hope with this was that I could sort of test this and explore this, and if there was a point where I could potentially crash my opponent's computer, could I take this into an online ladder game? The truth is, it looks like even a really, really high supply would just be mildly inconvenient rather than crash-worthy. Still, a fun thought, and something that is definitely still sticking in the forefront of my mind. Regardless, my name is Bandana T. I hope you've enjoyed this content, a little bit of fucking around, and I hope to see you all soon. If you are around at the moment, it's very likely that there will be Zero Space content going on at the moment because their playtest week is coming up very soon, public access. So I will be streaming some of that. I am by no means some of the best player of that game, but I certainly enjoy it, so there will be expect some sort of stream highlights or stuff coming up on this channel in the next couple of weeks. Hope to see you all soon. Bye!